He visto cómo ha crecido la ciudad de Coachella.
I have seen how Coachella has grown.
Pero también he visto cómo ha crecido la delincuencia.
But I also see how the bandits are growing.
La pregunta es, si cualquiera de ustedes, el que sea, que salga elegido, que represente al pueblo, que represente a esta
The
comunidad,
question is for any of you that become elected and represent this
¿cuál
community.
es su plan de trabajo para erradicar estas drogas y su uso entre los jóvenes?
What is your plan to eradicate these drugs and the use in the youth?
Primero, dentro de las escuelas
First, in schools
y sus alrededores.
and their surroundings.
Queremos escucharlos.
We want to hear.
Please welcome them with a round of applause as we introduce them. Our faith communities neither support nor oppose any candidate. This event is designed to educate the public. Before hearing our candidates, I remind everyone here that the views of the candidates are entirely their own.
Please share with us how your spirits are today and what is your vision for the community in the city of Coachella.
Our community, and to your opponents by answering tonight's questions with a frame that shows your vision for our city and your plans if you are elected.
I'm currently a councilwoman in the city of Coachella. I was elected in 2020, and prior to that, since 2014, I served on every commission the city of Coachella has. I am the only individual who's been crazy enough to volunteer that much of my time to our residents and to our community. So I'm very proud about what I do. You know, the same reasons that I ran in 2020 is the same reasons that I'm running again. I find myself still asking the same questions and still waiting for more to be done. I still keep asking to prioritize the small businesses. They have lots of questions and concerns about how they get the applications, their permits. You know, they're talking about many things and support that they need that I still can't get to them. You know, we still have a lot of questions about housing. We see a lot of affordable housing going up in the city of Coachella, but we also have a lot of market rate housing, you know, more than we ever have before. And you have families saying that they can't afford to go into those homes. Many times because investors are coming in and raising the price of those homes, 50,000. We have one development community coming in the Avenue 53. An investor has come in and wants to purchase 50 homes right off the top. There isn't anything we can do to keep them from doing so. We need more policies to be able to protect working families so that they can also afford to purchase their home and different types of homes. You know, we're seeing a rise in not just families, but, you know, single adults who also want to buy something, whether it's a condo or a townhouse, but they also have the right to purchase a home. You know, we also, a big question and concern as well is public safety. And that's something definitely that we need to have a conversation with their community. It's something that they're asking for, and it's something that our law enforcement wants to have with them as well. You know, the crime that we see, you know, the shootings isn't anything new. It's just a reality. You know, we have one fire station, we have one fire engine. So it's definitely something that we need to look into, and we need to provide our first responders more resources. Thank you.
Condolences to the Dr. Figueroa's family. I heard the news about his father, and I want to just publicly extend my condolences to you. It's pretty stand-up of you to be here in this difficult time. So, mis pésames to you and your family. I also want to just thank ICUC for 16 years probably 17 years of service to the city of Coachella, for advocating for the community, for organizing the community, and for ensuring that your voices are heard, and more importantly, organizing the youth, because you've done a great job, whether it be for parks, whether it be for standing up against water rate increases back in the day. You have made sure that your voices are heard. I also want to thank every single one of you who is in attendance today. The fact that you showed up, the fact that you're here, is kind of a sign to all of us that you are someone that's interested in local politics. So a big thank you. For me, this is a campaign about ensuring that each one of you has a place within the city of Coachella. If you're a young person, I want you to know that Coachella is yours, that you have a future in our community. If you're an older person and elderly, I want you to know that Coachella is yours and that you have a place in our community. We are 98% Latino. This is a community of families. This is a community where folks are immigrants, where folks are very, very hardworking, where folks are Latino, Mexicano, and we want you to know that Coachella is yours. So what does that look like? That looks like more businesses. That looks like better public safety. That looks like better infrastructure. That looks like better parks, and continuing the momentum that the city of Coachella has. So we are very grateful that you are all here, and thank you so much for your time.
And the reason why I'm running is because I want to bring transparency to our city. I think that residents need to know what's going on in every step of the way, every step of the decision-making process, not just when it first gets announced, but we need to know what's happening in step 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Another reason why I'm running is because I'm tired of the lack of communication that we're seeing. We need to start communicating with all departments, whether it's city staff, whether it's elected officials, but we definitely need better communication, and we need to make sure that it's being done in multiple platforms, right? Just posting one time on social media isn't enough. People work. Everyone here in Coachella, for the most part, we're all blue-collar workers, right? People get home late, they're tired, so we need to give people more opportunities to get involved. Forums like this shouldn't just be happening around election season. We should be having community meetings year-round and giving residents the opportunity to come forward and voice their opinions. Not just at council meetings either, right? So it's making sure that we're giving you the opportunity, we're uplifting you, and we're continuously encouraging public participation, and again, not just around an election season. Thank you.
Okay, next up, JOSIE GONZALEZ, 2 minutes.
Good evening. I am very honored to be here with you all today. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to us, ask us important questions. As you know, I am running for re-election. The first 4 years was incredibly learning. I'm not going to say that it has been easy, and I don't think you should believe anybody that says it is, because running a city is a lot more different than running your own home. And budgeting your budget. So I just want to say that in the last 4 years, I have worked hard to continue to be a voice for the people of Coachella. I am born and raised here in Coachella. In the 58 years I've been here, I've given my entire adulthood as a public servant. And at this point in my life, I really believe that experience matters in terms of understanding what the needs of the community is. I have worked 35 years, and the last 25 of those years has been as a social worker with Child Protective Services. Through the 9 social workers that I supervise on a daily basis, I truly have an understanding of the needs of my community, because I'm in their homes every day through the social workers. I understand the needs that the families are suffering from today. Not only is it neglect of children, but what is causing the neglect? What is happening in the home? What is happening in our community? I want to let you know that I have a true understanding, and it is my mission, my responsibility as a resident of this community to give back, to continue to be a public servant at a larger capacity, and share my knowledge to try to help the community that I love, that I come from, where I was born. So that being said, thank you very much.
And I'm running for Coachella City Council. I currently serve as the chairwoman of the Planning Commission for the City of Coachella. And in my role, I've been able to assist and approve in bringing more affordable housing projects, investing more in infrastructure, and ensuring that we are also supporting our small business community. In my role as a county employee, what I've been able to do is serve our families directly. And what I do there is I help families access childcare, healthcare, CalFresh, CalWorks, all of these programs that they may be able to have access to. I make sure that they're able to apply and that they know how they can qualify. During the COVID-19 outbreak, one of the things that I noticed the most was a lot of our families were suffering, and a lot of our families were being left with no employment. And so one of the things that I did was I ensured that I started creating resource fairs in different communities. And at those resource fairs, what I was asking organizations to do and different organizations and different agencies is to make sure that they came prepared and that they were on the spot, allowing our community and our families to apply for these resources. It wasn't a hand them a packet or a pamphlet and then let them go off and try to figure out how to apply. It was allowing them to let them know of the process and helping them apply for these services on the spot. I'm very proud that I was able to do that in my role as a county and as a county employee and a public servant. And now I want to do more. I want to do more for my community. I want to do more for my city. Coachella is my home, es mi hogar. This is where I want to be, and I just want to be able to serve my community more. I want to focus more on bringing additional affordable housing and other housing that perhaps young professionals like myself don't have access to right now. And so focusing on that and definitely focusing on our small business community and ensuring that we create a pathway for everyone. So with that, thank you so much.
Today, because I decided to run for City Council, because I'm putting community first. And that's what my motto is, making sure that the community that we're working together and we're putting their interests and their needs first. And how does that look like, right? Putting your community first, making sure that we have affordable housing, we have safe neighborhoods where people are able to come and walk and feel safe in their neighborhoods. And also ensuring we have accountability and transparency, right? And so ensuring that you know where and what things are going to. It's important that as a community we know where things are going to. I'm a financial manager for the University of California, and I understand financial management and public funds. I understand how you're supposed to properly utilize public money. And that's why I bring to the City Council race understanding of public knowledge, being a public servant, and bringing that background. I serve on the Coachella Planning Commission and making sure on that commission, hearing what people need, hearing what people are coming and talk to us, making sure that what we're deciding on is for the community, and ultimately putting that community first. And people like my parents, people like my dad, that's why I ran. And that's why I'm running, for people like them to make sure that their life thrives in Coachella and continues to thrive as we continue to age and continue to grow together in the city of Coachella. Thank you.
Yo les pregunto a ustedes,
I want to ask you,
si son elegidos, ¿pueden compartir con nosotros cuáles son sus planes para mejorar la seguridad dentro de nuestra comunidad?
if you get elected, can you tell us your plans that you have for security in
Señora que hizo la pregunta en español, y muchas gracias por su comentario y por mis condolencias en lo que sucedió con la pareja que usted conoce. Comparto lo que está diciendo. Yo también vivo cerca de la 52 y fuera de mi casa siempre escucho que están haciendo donuts, you know, they're just kind of going around. Entonces entiendo su preocupación. Creo que para mí es importante fijarnos qué es lo que nos está haciendo falta en nuestra comunidad y en nuestra ciudad. Si hay incrementos de violencia y las personas están haciendo eso, tiene mucho que ver con el apoyo que les estamos dando, tiene mucho que ver con la educación que les estamos brindando. So, en cierta manera creo que sí es muy importante tener esa comunicación con el departamento de policía y con el departamento de sheriffs y sentarnos con ellos. Lo que podríamos hacer, que creo que es sumamente importante, es invitarlos a que vengan hacia los City Council meetings y que la comunidad tenga esta oportunidad de poder hablar con ellos directamente. Tras mi trabajo con el condado, eso hacemos en nuestras juntas comunitarias. Es de que tenemos ahí a todos los departamentos, a Code Enforcement, tenemos a CAL FIRE, y le abrimos la puerta a la comunidad para que ellos directamente vayan y hablen con ellos y digan, ¿sabes qué? Esto está sucediendo en tal parte, en tal calle, en tal comunidad. Abrir las puertas de comunicación de esa manera, a decirles a ellos que estén presentes en nuestra ciudad, que vengan a escuchar lo que la gente está diciendo, lo que nuestra comunidad está diciendo, pero también enfocarnos en brindar más trabajos, en traer más negocios, asegurarnos a que estemos apoyando a nuestros estudiantes en su educación. Todo eso creo que es sumamente importante. Para responderle, eso es lo que le tengo que decir y de nuevo, mis condolencias. Gracias.
That's something, and for them to not show up, what does that tell us, right? We're paying them a certain amount for them to be able to come around, even though we don't have our own police department, and they're not showing up. So I think that the first step is to make sure that we're holding them accountable and to make sure that we're bettering the lines of communication even there. When I prioritize communication, and it's one of the biggest platforms from my campaign, it's because the communication issue is everywhere, right? We're having miscommunication with the police department, the residents aren't communicating with them, vice versa. So we really need to make sure that we are holding them accountable and that we're having more community forums. I'm a big supporter of community forums. I think that when we're all discussing and when we're sharing our opinions, right? We're sharing our feedback with everything. It's the best way that we could address things. Not just the conversation being one-sided. So it's extremely important that we are opening those lines of communication and that we are taking residents' feedback, right? And so your question is, what are we going to do to address this? What are we going to do to address the rise of crime? We're going to coordinate. We're going to bring this up for discussion, and we're going to start addressing the problems one by one, right? The problem with street racing. What can we do to reduce the amount of street racing? Whether it takes more vigilance on the streets, right? Whether it takes having more patrols out, or whether it takes installing safety video cameras, right? I know that a couple years back, this was something that was discussed as well, but these are all valid solutions, or valid things that we should be discussing to make sure that we're addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Yurema.
I feel exactly the same as our resident who came and talked about feeling afraid at night. I believe everyone here probably hears the same thing that she hears. What I can say is that in my role in the daytime, it's about how are we going to fix the issue? How are we going to do it? I know that we cannot do it alone. Law enforcement alone isn't going to do it. I agree that we do need our own police department that gets to know every member in the community, those that need help and those that need to be helped. So that need additional help, may I say. I believe that has to be a partnership with nonprofits, with those that are willing to do the hard work. There's programs out there that can reach those children that are in the process of deciding whether they want to continue on a right path or something's lacking in their life that allows them to get caught up with those on the streets that are making bad decisions. So the question is, what is it that about? We need to understand that it's not just policing. It has to be also working with the community, interfacing with the community, as well as partnering with different social service agencies that can provide the youth, the families with the help, the resources, the counseling, whatever it is that's ailing that family, that is, for whatever reason, we all know pretty much what the reasons are. The disenfranchised, those that need extra money don't have it. Some feel they need to go out and earn it the wrong way. That turns into one thing versus another. We have a lot of issues that need to be corrected, and I believe we can do it by having a police department that is sensitive to the needs, that changes the way that we interface with the community, where the community feels comfortable and that when they make that call, that they're going to get an officer that understands, that knows who they are, what's the issues in that street, that part of the city, what is it that where they can send them to get help, not only the child or the adult that is the offender, but also the family, because everyone suffers together when there's an issue.
Right. I serve as the Vice President of the Southern Coachella Community Services District, and I work directly with law enforcement. So I have that experience of knowing how do you work with them and making sure that we work with the community and knowing what the community needs, right? So I've had residents come to me and talk and converse, you know, about the law enforcement and how do you ensure that you are getting those service calls, right? And so in the unincorporated community, you have a large service call, and I have seen the donuts, cuando vienen en la Grapefruit a 52 y están dando vueltas y a veces pueden causar esos choques, ¿verdad? Entonces, ocupamos que asegurar que la comunidad está diciéndonos, como en estos foros, donde vienen a preguntarnos y decirnos en la mesa, en el concilio, esto es lo que está pasando, ocupan hacer algo, ocupamos que reunirnos con la comunidad y los departamentos de policía para poder comunicar juntos, pero no nomás reunirnos una vez, porque a veces lo que pasa es nos reunimos una vez y nada pasa. Nos reunimos y la gente dice, ok, van a hacer algo, pero ocupa que seguir las personas viniendo para atrás y preguntando qué pólizas estás haciendo para asegurar que nuestras vecindades, nuestras comunidades están en un estado donde nos sentimos protegidos. Entonces, ¿qué es la póliza? Vamos a trabajar juntos para asegurar que la póliza sea más policías, sea más seguridad pública, para que podamos mirar nuestra ciudad, que baje los niveles de crimen. Entonces, trabajando junto con el departamento de policía, el sheriff y la comunidad, podemos llegar a esa meta donde queremos mirar nuestra ciudad juntos.
Thank you.
Talk a bit about what we have currently in the City of Coachella. We have one deputy. Well, during the daytime, we have 4 deputies. That means that we have 1 deputy per 12,000 residents. In the night, we have 3 deputies. That means 1 deputy per 15,000 residents. So their response time is slow because they're overwhelmed. That's the reality. And so they respond to calls by the type of crime. So they're numbered actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's a number 4, then that one unfortunately gets pushed aside because the number 2 and number 1 get prioritized, and that's the reason why we have slow responses. As far as traffic, we don't have any traffic deputies, and I don't know if Coachella residents know that, but we don't have any. That's why you have people racing. That's why you have people taking the red light, because they know that there isn't any enforcement. I've asked over and over and over to bring back, let's review how much it is to, hire a traffic deputy, and to even look at what it would be to have 2. Is it expensive? Yeah, it's expensive, but it's something that we have to look at. People's lives are important. So that means that we're gonna have to go back and look at our financial budget, see where we can, possibly, reallocate some funding. That's just the reality. Our residents are asking, that we prioritize their lives. I also had one of my best friend's son died on Grapefruit Boulevard as a result of racing. So for some of us who have been victims of someone who has passed away, it's a little bit more near and dear for us. Additionally, is that we need to have more community meetings with law enforcement. I'm sorry, I missed the time stop, sorry.
We need to bring back our own police department. We've had meetings with the sheriff. We've had a lot of community meetings with the sheriff. And the problem with the sheriff is that you'll get 2, 3 officers that are here for 6 months, or a year, or a lieutenant, or a captain, and then the following year they're gone. So they get to know the community, and then within 6 months they're out of here. We need to bring back our own police department so that we're not relying on sheriff that's up in Riverside, that's obviously leading his forces and leading what is happening here with our communities. We know very, very well that the sheriff is not doing any community policing. If we want to have community policing, we're going to have to bring back our own police department. We have in the past worked with the sheriff to talk about immigration. We've talked about crime. We've talked about different things, and it's the same old story. So we need to bring back our own police department. The other thing that we need to double down on is that it's about being smart on crime too. It's about making sure that we can work with our youth, we can work with our families to make sure that they have access to jobs, that they have access to mental health services, that they have access to transportation, whatever it is that they need in order so that they can grow and raise a good family. I'm not someone that believes that just throw all your money at crime or throw all your money at the sheriff department. That's not how things work. We really need to be smart on crime and tough on crime. We've been that up until this year. the city was really reducing its murder rates, and we had a year that it's not just in Coachella, but statewide. The other thing that we need to be serious about is we need to talk about the mistakes that as voters we all made. We passed, I believe it was Proposition 47, that changed the way people go to jail. And what we've seen right now is people that are, getting out of jail and not serving any time for doing delinquencies. And so we really need to advocate for reform.
Ver familias, muchas historias.
As a deacon, I can
Historias
hear
reales.
a lot of stories and real stories
Y
of a lot
cómo
of families.
se están mirando afectados
How they've been
por ese
affected
mal. Y
because of
cómo
this
pierden a sus hijos
drug
convirtiéndose
abuse,
en vándalos.
and how they lose
Para
their
poder
children,
tener para consumir su droga.
that they go into gangs so they can have money to buy drugs.
La pregunta es, si cualquiera de ustedes, el que sea, que salga elegido, que represente al pueblo, que represente a esta
The
comunidad,
question is for any of you that become elected and represent this
¿cuál
community.
es su plan de trabajo para erradicar estas drogas y su uso entre los jóvenes?
What is your plan to eradicate these drugs and the use in the youth?
Primero, dentro de las escuelas
First, in schools
y sus alrededores.
and their surroundings.
Queremos escucharlos.
I want to hear that.
I don't think that there's anyone sitting here today or standing on this stage that doesn't know someone that somehow have been affected by drugs or alcohol. It is an issue that we continue to see as one of the biggest problems in the families in our city, in our county, our state. I work with families. I would say 90% of the families that I interact with on a daily basis have some sort of dependency problem. And what I have learned, they get there many different ways. Sometimes they start with, oh, I just want to, have a good time. Eventually the addiction sets in. Sometimes you want to forget your issues. Eventually the addiction sets in. Doesn't matter, I want to party. The addiction will set in. I have seen generational drug abuse. I have been involved with parents back in the 90s, and today we're dealing with their children. Drugs, if you do not address it, if we continue as a culture to be embarrassed of it and not talk about it, and it doesn't go beyond your comadres and your compadres, and it doesn't fall into the hands of those persons that know how to deal with the issue, substance abuse counselors, there's a lot of help out there, but we need to get out there and ask for it. So familias, please reach out. There's a lot of drugs out there right now. They're going after the kiddos. $5 a pop for fentanyl. I have seen children die. 15-year-olds die. I've had to send my workers to the morgue so that we can make sure we know the basis for the denial. So it's a problem. We need to wake up and we need to ask for help.
I think we need to really pay attention to the social determinants of health. And the social determinants of health are very complex and involves a lot of different things. It involves poverty, it involves your physical environment, it involves social capital and the different relationships that you have with churches or different organizations. And so we need to do a really good job of strengthening those social determinants of health. One of the things that we need to continue to do is work with the school district. Councilmember Delgado mentioned the Latino Commission. The city actually gave the Latino Commission space so that they can have those mental health services here at the old library. We are working with them to actually get into the new clinic that was built off of Avenue 50, and so they're going to be expanding those services. I also think that the school district does a good thing with the Compadres Network, and that's something that I believe we need to incentivize more and really get our families involved in the Compadres Network, because that network really works with kids in order to find out what's bothering them, what is it that is keeping them from realizing their full potential. This issue is not an easy one, but I also believe that strengthening the families so that they can recognize that, hey, my son, daughter has an issue, and that they can go out and seek the appropriate services that they need. Mental health and drug use, it's a complex matter. It's something that affects a lot of families, including my own, and we need to know that we have the strength and the support to tackle this as a family. So I think the city can't do enough. It's an issue that we need to just continue to chip away at from now to forever.
It really ties back a lot to mental health and the stigma behind asking for help and wanting to receive help. You know, in the classroom, the school district partners with Latino Commission, and they do an outstanding job. They really do, providing services. But what happens is that students don't want to go to the counseling office. They're embarrassed. So normally when we get that call and saying, you know, so-and-so send them to the counseling office, you know, they don't want to go. They'll say, no, miss, I don't want to go. So, and it comes back a lot to that stigma. And so I think that there's a lot more education that we need to provide, not only as a city, but also, you know, within families about that it is okay to seek out help, that it is okay to say, I'm not feeling my best. You know, I've been on many ride-alongs, you know, with law enforcement, and I remember the first ride-along I went to, the first call that came through was an overdose, a drug overdose. And it was a young male, and he was 20 years old, and he died by a trash bin by himself. And it was painful. No human being should ever die alone like that, and especially not suffering that way. That means that this young individual was suffering long before, you know, that incident occurred. So I definitely think that, you know, we need to make sure that we're increasing access to mental health. And, you know, partnering with the county and partnering with nonprofits and partnering with everybody that we can at this point, because we're just not getting enough services. There also isn't enough housing. At the county office in Indio for mental health, you know, there were some people that were referred there, and they were basically turned away because they were at capacity. When if someone is seeking and wanting to get help, and you know the services that are being provided can no longer be provided because they're at capacity, that's a problem. And so I think that, you know, as I said, we need to continue to, you know, increase access to mental health. We need to make sure that we're working with all the agencies that we can, and we also need to start having these conversations, you know, openly with the community about what's really going on in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise, for your...
We all know we are living in a national housing crisis that is mostly affecting renters and households with the lowest income. I know the city has been working towards bringing more housing opportunities, and I thank you all for that. But there is still a long way to go. I was super excited when I found out about the brand new Pueblo Viejo villas on 6th Street. And even more when the waiting list was about to open. I called the phone number that was provided, and to my surprise, I was told that if I wanted to be one of the first ones to have my application reviewed, I had to give a $200. And that it did not guarantee that I would be chosen for an apartment. When I heard that, I got upset to know that the city was not prioritizing the needs of our community. We need more diverse housing options because not everyone qualifies for low income.
Have the issue with affordable housing, equitable housing, and how do we work to ensure that people like me, people like the young generation who's coming back to Coachella to give back to their community, is able to move into something, either affordable, intermediate housing, medium income housing. How do we work to find that affordable housing? Because it's not just about trying to get someone in, it's ensuring that they have sustainable and consistent housing. Because what happens when you move in and then you have to move out? Being consistent with the housing, being able to be first-time home buyers, being able to purchase a home on your own, and being able to be financially stable. Because we all know sometimes you have to live paycheck by paycheck, and not knowing what that uncertainty is, because maybe next week you no longer are employed. So how do we continue to work together and build that affordable housing that includes everybody. And so that consists with the city making sure when you're bringing in new developers that you have a master plan. The city has a master plan for what's supposed to be built. And so we have to follow that when you bring in developers, that they're following that master plan, making sure you're bringing in the developers, that they're bringing in the correct type of housing that our community needs. And our community needs a diverse, different type of community of housing. You need condominiums, you need single-family homes, you need single-family homes that look like condominiums. So ensuring that we have that type of housing is key to bring into our community. And so working with developers and working with the city staff to make sure that when developers come, you're getting what you need, and this is what we need because we want to meet our master plan and our strategic plan of the city. So you have to follow the plans that's set by the city council to ensure we meet the needs of our city.
Something that I think it's a crisis that we're all going through, state, nation. And so I think one of the best things that we can do is ensure that we're working locally with our planning departments, our building and safety departments, and making sure that we're initiating conversations with them. There's a lot of process that we're able to streamline. And there's a lot of work that we can do with nonprofit organizations, one of them being Live to Rise. One of their major goals is to ensure that every city and communities that we're building affordable housing. So I think it's important to be able to do that with them. I'm very fortunate to be able to receive the endorsement of the Desert Valleys Builders Association PAC. And so I think that being able to receive that endorsement has allowed me to really already start building a strong partnership with them. I think it's important, and some other candidates have mentioned it, and also community members, the importance of ensuring that our young professionals are also being able to afford housing. I find myself in those shoes, in that situation right now, and it's very difficult. It is very difficult without any assistance. We are in a place where we don't qualify for low income, but we also are not able to purchase a home at market rate. It's very hard without any assistance or without a cosigner. So I completely understand that, but I think it's really important that we work with our partners, that we ensure that the communication is strong, and that we also work locally with our departments, as I mentioned, with our planning department. How do we educate them and let them know, hey, how can we streamline some of these processes? And with those developers that are bringing in housing, we can ask them, make sure that a certain percentage of the houses that you're building is set aside for affordable housing, or is set aside for middle or income housing. So we're able to do that as a city. We're able to increase those policies. We're able to establish that. And I think that together we're able to do that.
Talk about affordable housing, we really need to be expanding what we mean when we say affordable housing. So we need to start including medium to moderate income, because the reality is that the cost of living has drastically gone up, and it continues to go up, right? Something that was considered a good salary maybe 20 years ago, today that same salary you can no longer afford a one-bedroom apartment, right? So we really need to increase those income ranges and make sure that we are zoning for a specific amount of apartments or houses to include that, right? And when we do that, I think it's really important that we also talk about the fact that a lot of youth and a lot of younger folks are leaving because they can't afford to live in the city that they grew up in, right? They're going to go anywhere wherever they're able to buy an apartment or rent an apartment, right? And so what can we do to make sure that we're keeping our residents here and keeping our talent here, right? Because a lot of people are coming back after graduating school, and they deserve to move out with their parents if they want, right? But it's really hard right now. It's tough to live anywhere, so we need to make sure that we are including and expanding the range of what those incomes mean. And also when we're developing, making sure that we're not just developing 4 or 5 bedroom homes, and making sure that we're also developing for 1 to 2 bedroom homes, right? Smaller homes, because there are smaller families and there are people that don't need that much room. So making sure that we are diversifying our housing every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Yurema.
Next up.
We need to continue to do that to make sure that our low income and very low income have a space here in the city of Coachella. I also believe that we need to take on the investors. We need to cap at 10% in any neighborhood, the investor cap in that neighborhood. So that means that if an investor wants to come in, they can only buy 10% of the neighborhood. The rest of it needs to go to the community. Third, I think it's important that, yes, we can have inclusionary housing, but people want to get into their own homes, and one of the things that we need to do is provide people with a subsidy of up to about $100,000 to $150,000 so that they can buy down that loan. Because people want to get into a home. We've done a great job in the past as a city to make sure that people can buy down that loan, and so I think we need to really bring that back. And you know, the other thing that I believe the city needs to actually do, there's a recession coming and folks are talking about maybe losing their homes. So we need to help people stay in their homes. And if they do lose their homes, I think the city needs to buy some of these homes. That was a missed opportunity that a lot of government did in 2008. Cities should buy homes, and then we should work with the community to give those homes back. So those are 5 things that I believe that we can do as a city to make sure that we can address the housing issue here in the city of Coachella.
You know, so for the Pueblo Viejo apartments that we had a little over 100 apartments, you know, we had applications of over 5,000 that wanted to go into that community. You know, so we need to obviously continue to provide affordable housing and continue to build on that. But as I touched on before, we need to also, you know, make affordable housing, you know, where people can come in and purchase a home. Something that the city of Coachella doesn't have is we don't have any short-term rental stipulations or regulations. You know, they don't, for people who have the Airbnbs, there isn't any fees. If you go into the city of Indio, you have to pay fees to the city of Coachella. City of Indio, we do not. You know, we have people coming in and buying 6, 7, 8 homes. You don't see that happening in other cities as much as here. Why? Because we don't have stricter regulations. You know, when I went back to saying that we need policies that really kind of enforce these types of limitations so that investors don't come in and purchase so much homes and rise and then increase the cost of some of these homes. You know, we see 3 or 4 families going into these homes because one family alone can't afford it. And then there's complaints about too many vehicles parking on the street. Well, that's the only way that they can afford the home. You know, so we definitely need to prioritize as well as first-time home buyers. You know, one thing that I had asked for a year ago is that if we could put a policy forward that basically allows first-time home buyers to get the first opportunity to purchase a home. So instead of an investor coming through, you know, allowing a first-time home buyer to, you know, have priority over an investor. You know, I've also asked for a first-time home buyers program grant. That hasn't come through either. One thing that we did do on Avenue 50 is that we allowed zoning for affordable housing. So the 16th phase would be allowed, or basically it's been put aside for working families. Thank you.
When I see my brothers and sisters out there, and I don't mean my brothers, my actual blood brothers, but my fellow humans that are sleeping in the streets, along Cesar Chavez, literally right outside of the sidewalk, it's heartbreaking because we need to be better than that. Housing is a big need. I can tell you, if I try to purchase a home today, I probably could not afford it. I was lucky to purchase at a time that as one adult household, a single person, I was able to purchase it because at that time it was right before that housing crisis and I got it at a decent price. So yes, we need housing. We also know that affordable housing, we're going to have to continue to partner and do what we've been doing. We've been doing a good job in Coachella with housing. We need all types of housing. Clearly, we need more affordable housing. And we need to continue to do what we've been doing, partnering, getting the money from the state, from the federal government to be able to turn around and reinvest it in housing that is needed for those that need it the most. The lower income and also, you know, the working poor, because we all live paycheck to paycheck. So we need to continue to partner with those organizations, nonprofits that work in building low-income housing, going after all those grants that we have been very, very, very good at. And we need to continue to we know what the need is. We know what the medium income in our community is. We just need to continue to do what we've been doing, and that's what we're going to do.
It's been amazing, right? But how do we make sure that we're making the most use out of the current parks that we do have, right? And how do we do that? Is by partnering with the Desert Recreation District, right? It's with partnering with other nonprofits that are around. And how do we bring more programs here and making sure that the youth have more access to these programs and making sure that they're making use of the space, right? So also as we're we're building, it's really important that we also think about diversifying the type of activities that are available at the park, whether it's including a dog park, whether it's including like the mayor said, a water feature, right? But making sure that there's different things, because the one thing that we really do like about the Palm Desert Civic Park is that there's so much to do, right? So how do we bring that here? And we really do need to look at what other cities are doing and take it by example and bring it here, because there's a reason why so many people like it, right? And then also with that, it's important that we do continue those partnerships and making sure that we're consistently communicating with our higher elected officials, right? Regardless of what prior relationship existed before, it's important that they're willing to work with new elected officials, right? Because at the end of the day, we are part of the same community. It's important that we're consistently working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Irema, for your input.
Lastly, Denise Delgado.
Thank you. As some of the comments that have been made, is we've been very successful in securing millions of dollars that promote recreation and well-being. As the mayor said, $8.5 million in Avenue 52, and then $4.5 million to renovate the old library on 7th Street. Currently, we applied for a $35 million grant that renovates 4 parks in the city of Coachella. It includes trails. It also includes a portion that says Connecting Coachella, which increases bicycle lanes in the city of Coachella. It provides ADA ramp to promote walkability. And then additionally is that we also need to make sure that we're removing limitations or increasing access to parks. One thing that we did this year is remove the park fees. So, our families and the communities can use the fields in the city of Coachella and not have to pay for it. Another thing that I think we need to do as well is that we need to remove the fees to use a community space in the Coachella Library, as well as the Begduma facility park that we have. There is no reason why nonprofit organizations should be paying fees to provide services and recreational programs to the city of Coachella residents. I think that we also need to make sure that we have more office space. I love that that COD is providing education in the city of Coachella, but we need more community space. There's an organization here right now that's asking for more community space. I have about 3 or 4 that I just received last week, and just me walking the community. So we need to make sure that when we're talking about recreation, it also means providing space where people can gather and provide services to the city of Coachella and have a place to gather and discuss some of the issues that are going on. In closing, I think that as I mentioned, the $35 million grant, we also applied for a $15 million grant. That also improves transportation in the city of Coachella, and it goes back to the trails and the walkability that's needed as well. Thank you.
Today, and I'm happy to tell all of you guys that we now have the most park spaces for any city in the Coachella Valley, and we're continuing to build more. We just got a $7.8 million grant to build another park on Avenue 52 in La Ponderosa area. That's going to be very, very important. If you look at how we've been developing the parklet system throughout the city, Avenue 52's got one there. You see the Dateland Park, the back of the library's got a little park, this park, Ethereal's got another little park. And I think we need to continue to develop parklets. The Oro Park, we've done a really good job of making sure that park has functionality and that people can use it. The other side of it is not just parks, but we need to think about the recreation within the parks. So it's the more programmings that we need to do. Happy to say that we just got another $4.5 million so that we can invest it into our old library and really start thinking about, visual learning, music learning, arts and dance, so that people can really utilize those and bring that function into existence and into their families. The Desert Recreation District does play a key role. We got great partnerships with the Desert Recreation District. We need to expand those partnerships. And I honestly believe that we really need a larger pool or a larger kind of a wet area. And I'm happy to say that just recently the city worked with the Imperial Irrigation District to do a land swap on the 9th Street, where we're going to get 2 acres and developing that into some type of water feature. Very, very important that during the summer when it's 120 here now, that we have somewhere to cool off. And so really happy with all the work that's going on.
It's out here today, and thank you for sharing your concerns, your questions with us. I'm running for Coachella City Council because I have a history of being able to give back to our community and to Coachella Valley residents. Throughout my work with the county, I've really made it a priority to ensure that our community has access to programs. There's a lot that is out there through the state, through the county, federal, but our community doesn't have access to it. They don't know about it. And if they do know about it, it's really difficult to apply for these programs and services. My commitment to my community is to ensure that I continue to educate it, that I continue to make sure that they have access to these programs and services. I think it's really important that, and a few candidates have mentioned this, that we educate our community and let them know of what they're able to have access to. So that's my commitment, that's my priority. I'm very proud to live in the city of Coachella. The city of Coachella is mi hogar, it's my home, and it's time for me to do more. I'm willing to do more, I want to do more, I have the energy and motivation, and I just hope to be able to earn your support this November 8th. Thank you.
The beginning was that I was born and raised here. I decided to purchase my first home here because I love the city of Coachella. I love the community that we have, right? And so it's super important as well that we have an advocate on the city council, that we have somebody that's willing to, that has a history of advocating for people, right? My first job was a nonprofit job, and I'm currently in the nonprofit sector. This is the work that I love to do because I'm committed to public service. I'm committed to uplifting residents' voices, and it's something that hopefully you're going to allow me to continue to do. Whether I win or not, I will continue to uplift your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
And that's why, I continue to fight every day for the city of Coachella, making sure that we put the community first. I'm a proud supporter of the LGBTQ community, making sure we have equal rights for everybody, and I'm running for the city so that we put the city and the residents first and communicate together, right? And move forward together, one step at a time.
In my 4 years, I have worked really hard to understand the process, to learn how government works so that I can be as efficient as possible. We're only as efficient as we are knowledgeable about the subject matter. And that's what experience teaches us, right? We all have ganas. We could all get up and we could all pursue and push and demand and fight for. That's clear. We all know that. We all, I believe, have that same passion. I think that what sets me apart is my the 35 years of what I've done, what I have been. I would say the first role that I truly identify with is being an advocate. I've been an advocate since I was a child, and I have been an advocate in every position that I have worked in. So I would hope to have the honor of representing my community again, the community, the beautiful community that I have been raised in for 58 years, and to be able to represent you for the next 4 years, and to continue and advocate for what's best for my people, my gente.
Be here for a long time and do nothing, and it's another thing to be on city council or be the mayor and to actually get the job done. We have a long history from day one of bringing resources, building parks, building housing, building bridges, building infrastructure, you name it, we've done it. As the city leadership transitions, it's going to be important that we have somebody to really help that transition and to bring people along. We have 2 more years left. More than likely this is my last term, but there are a few projects that I want to get done. One is the bridge on Avenue 50. I want to make sure that Avenue 48 also gets done. I want to make sure that we can continue to build affordable housing. And frankly, I want to make sure that we can pass on the torch to people that are doing it for the right reasons. And so for us, it's too important. We've made some great strides in the city, and we can't afford to go backwards or to wait for people to get caught up to speed on how to get the job done. From day one, we know how to get that job done.
Serving the city of Coachella since 2014. Many of what you see happening in the city of Coachella, whether it's transportation, the infrastructure that's happening, I've had the great pleasure of being a part of it all. We have a lot of great things that are happening, but I think that we can have a lot more great things happening. I want to make sure that everyone has access to housing. I want to make sure that we're prioritizing public safety, wellness. I want to make sure that we're strengthening our local economy, that we're focusing on our small business community. And I say it all the time, just the same way the city has invested so much time into the cannabis industry is the same investment and time that we can put into the small business community and get them going and allow those families to, earn their money as well. And so with that, I thank you all. I hope to, receive your support this coming election. And I'm very proud to be a Coachella resident. I'm a lifelong resident here. Our family has deep roots here. And, I hope to continue to serve all of you for the next 4 years.
Señor, te damos gracias porque has actuado de acuerdo a tu Santo Espíritu. Cada uno de nosotros hemos escuchado las propuestas y respuestas de estos nuestros candidatos. Estamos con ellos y te pedimos que a cada uno de ellos tu Santo Espíritu los guíe con esa luz, con ese amor y esa realidad que vivimos, para que el que quede, Señor, tú lo acompañes y le des la sabiduría para poder llevar a cabo y realizar las promesas y propuestas que cada uno de ellos tiene para toda tu comunidad, ciudad de Coachella. Te damos las gracias en el nombre de tu Hijo, nuestro Señor Jesucristo, que vive y reina contigo en la unidad del Espíritu Santo y es Dios por los siglos de los siglos.
Amén.
Gracias.
Thank you everybody for
Buenas
attending.
noches.
Gracias a todos. Thank you, Deacon Porras.